Quantum and refueling for the individual now, no wait, 3.17 preps the Star Citizen experience later. Whew, that's a heavy title. Today, we will be going over some things that every type of Star Citizen should be paying close attention to right now, at least in my opinion. Specifically, we will address why the economy changes and the first implementation of the dynamic economy AI, known as Quantum, along with Quanta, will change the experience of players throughout Star Citizen. Now, there is an overwhelming amount of information and speculation across the community concerning this brainchild that CIG's Tony Z has cooked up. We'll talk about how this and the first implementation of the refueling mechanic work currently, or will work currently, and how it will lay the foundation and help to create the experience and nurture the community later down the road. I had hoped to be sharing a video of the actual refueling mechanic, but the patch hasn't hit my testing wave yet, so here we are. You may have some questions about who I am and what I do, so if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll be sharing some insights on that after I share what you came to this video for. We've got a lot to talk about, and we'll get started right now. Starting with notes on Quanta and refueling for 3.17. I don't want to get too deep into something that has just dropped or is about to drop, so be warned. I'm about to share some tips or primary points of focus I'd like to take a look at, and I'd like your feedback if you have something to add that I may decide to cover if it fits. There is a possibility that the patch may become available as I make this video, so don't worry, I'll get straight on that if it does. So, for Quantum, or Quanta, let's just call it the dynamic economy. Here are my tips or things I think we should all be excited to experiment with and understand, in my mind anyhow. Number 1. Experiment with the idea of derelicts, the looting system, refueling, and the dynamic economy together. Number 2. This first implementation may change the player's experience and in-game habits directly. 3. Take the time to know how this will impact current game loops. And 4. Practice playing the market and feeding the first implementation of the AI, so it can learn. Let's get a little bit deeper into each, and discuss some supporting information about what CIG has told us, as applicable. Number 1. Experiment with the idea of derelicts, the looting system, refueling, and Quanta, dynamic economy, you get it. What kind of experience do you predict? I think this is one of the first questions we should be asking. For those of us that aren't developers, or experts on quantum algorithms, quadratics, and have 36 formulas memorized in our RAM in our brains at all times, we will have to test it and see how it responds. I definitely want to get hands-on experience, but here are some details we know, nonetheless. In the Inside Star Citizen Player Experience Winter 2022 video, Jared mentions that derelicts will mean a greater variety of points of interest for you to discover and new mission areas spawned when you accept the job, all dynamically placed and dressed as needed. Do with that statement what you will, but this is currently the best supporting statement I have to this question or that I've came up with. Let's keep on trucking. Second thing to focus on when it comes to Quanta, at least in my head, is probably better stated as a question. How is this first implementation going to change the player's experience and in-game habits directly? Specifically, will the change be the difference between the hangar module in Port Olisar, or as big as the 2.6.3 patch to the 3.0 patch? Yes, there are only 3 commodities that will be dictated currently, or in the first implementation. But there's more that the AI will be doing in the background. We will go over that with some supporting evidence a little later in this section. So, what new kind of game loops will emerge to be the most efficient with your time? This leads us into the third point of focus, so we will take a moment to talk about it as objectively as possible. With currently having one system to practice refueling in, I'm leaning towards where will the best place to wait for the refueling bat signal to appear will be. I can't help but to wonder, will refueling be viable for a couple of checkpoints on the way to New Babbage, for example? I think that that's where I'll be testing refueling first. And this part may be some speculation. I wasn't able to verify this or didn't verify this. I expect them to come in a similar way on your HUD or show up, similarly to how medical beacons show up. Let me know your thoughts on how the dynamic economy will impact current game loops in your mind. Number 4. I plan to practice playing the market and feeding the first implementation of the AI for the dynamic economy so that it can learn. Seems simple enough, I think. These are just things that I plan on evaluating in my own way. It may work for you. You may have a completely different focus. That's okay. I just want to discuss it with you guys. So what do we know? Well, we do know that there will be some minor changes, like pressing N to auto dock when refueling. But what about player traffic habits? Well, I pulled some things that we do know for sure, or at least according to the All About Alpha 3.17 video. Not to repeat the news, just to support the points, are that the whole A is coming online in 3.17. I can't help when thinking about this but to think about how this is prepping for the cargo refactor once the dynamic economy is more online or in a further implementation. And cargo gameplay expansion will definitely have an impact from this. We also know that the ability to sell things from our inventories is dropping in 3.17, so this will provide some valuable residual income for those who came across a lot of loot during their adventures. In line with the theme of the channel, each topic discussed is from an industrial, individual, non-pew-pew type lens. Sorry, combat lovers, which reminds me, for those folks that didn't know, yes, there are some very easy combat grinding methods that you share in the community, and you are welcome to. I encourage it. It's a valid industry faux show. So I wanted to be clear that I'm not against combat at all, but I've had enough pew-pew gameplay for one lifetime. Here on this channel, we are focused on small-scale industry and business partnerships. So I can't possibly have the time to recommend or give advice on combat unless it is oriented towards protecting business investments, and I just hire out for that. The channel has this unofficial motto that if you are getting shot at, you have already failed your mission. That's it, we're going to move on now. Getting back to the dynamic economy, here is where things get a bit dense. So I've tried to condense this to the 4 points of focus we just went over. I think it is important for us to be excited for how the game is going to be impacted now, even with this first implementation. How is this going to impact payouts for security while trading or helpers to discover the best Quantanium rocks? How will pirates be impacted? And what new tactics will be developed with refueling? Yeah, refueling. Let's get to that. I think it's a good time to transition. It is not my intent to do an exhaustive breakdown of quantum, quasar, quanta, etc. There are already beautiful pieces on that straight from the source. So, as with the previous portion, we have some tips or points of focus that have been in my mind recently that I would like to share. Refueling Focus 1. Practice learning the process so that you build the muscle memory in every implementation of the mechanic. The first implementation doesn't have grades of fuel, according to Todd Pappy in the All About Alpha 3.17 video. However, I have learned that one of the best parts of this project is understanding how mechanics evolve from hands-on experience. Mining would be a great example here. I've played it in every implementation it's had. We've seen mining evolve a lot over time, and Todd and Jared said that we won't see huge changes in the short term at around the 11-minute mark for you sticklers for evidence out there. What this means to me is that we will have time to learn the quirks and feed CIG information on how to expand it later. In my head, this is a perfect opportunity to develop skill for a new player, or any player really, in a profession from the ground level. Refueling Focus 2. Understand refueling implications now before pyro drops. Straight from Todd Pappy himself, refueling now is to prep for pyro. So I would think this is a perfect time for you to start paying attention to your patterns of travel and adjust your play habits accordingly. Simple enough for a focus. I try to keep things simple. I think this should be something everyone is excited to experience. At least I am from an industrial lens. Refueling Focus 3. Focus on fuel scoop changes. Keeping it simple here too, I just think that we should get some information in a collective here on the balances and the changes as they happen. Refueling Focus 4, I think that we should all focus on pushing the needle on negotiating fuel prices. It's time to practice your negotiating skills. What will the average sale be? What will become the most important variables when you set your price? I'm stoked about the experiences and stories that should come out of this. Some other notes on the dynamic economy if you would like to know more. Todd talked to Tony. They are planning on quantum controlling 3 commodity prices to start: hydrogen fuel, repair materials, and quantum fuel. If you didn't already hear, the AI will dictate where service beacons will occur and their price in this first implementation. And a final note on the dynamic economy, I keep getting it tongue twisted just like Todd did in the video. I'm no expert on this, so this is just straight from the source to you, but it will dictate 3 so-called probability tags: piracy, security, and freighters. Todd did mention that the AI will be doing this with about a dozen locations. It wasn't clear if these locations will be static or change dynamically for this first rollout. And some other important things to note about 3.17 as a whole, if you'd like to know more about that. Dynamic events will no longer be triggered manually, previously handled by Eric Green at CIG. NPC stuff is not a priority in the PU just yet, due to the Squadron 42 energy shift. There's currently definitely a focus on core gameplay careers, according to Todd, so no fishing just yet. At the 24-minute marker, Jared talks about being open and candid in reference to Todd Pappy. I'm not here to recap all the news, but if you missed it, this SCL video all about Alpha 3.17 at the 24 minutes-ish mark has some gold there, I think. So, thank you, Jared. Thank you, Todd. And thank you to everyone at CIG from a longtime backer. I really appreciate your work and just really wanted to give a shout out. That's it. Let's move into some experimental discussion, or the second portion. Enriching Star Citizen's experience for the long haul. I've kind of got a chaotic conglomerate of thoughts going on here, as usual. This section won't be long, I promise, but I've never tried it this way before. Hopefully you will understand why by the end of it. Starting with how this patch will prepare the Star Citizen experience later. Yeah, when you say it a couple of times, it is easy to think about that every patch, or every patch should be like that. Here's why I think this patch isn't just a big deal for the individual, industrial PvE player, but actually something that will impact how we all will play. Well, the entire video has been supporting that, so I'll just speak candidly. I think that this will be an exciting time, and this will be a meaty patch for my interests. Maybe not yours, but I hope so, and I hope this video got your wheels spinning on how this update will impact you personally. And if you would like to know more about why the 3.17 patch hasn't left the Evocati wave yet, I'd like to direct you to a YouTube channel called The Eradicator. He's been around a long time, and his recent video titled, "Here is Why Star Citizen 3.17 is not in the PTU yet," is great. He will undoubtedly have no idea who I am, but I am a longtime viewer, and I think he gives some very balanced answers on this question. And regarding 3.17, I'll be focusing on the 4 objectives for refueling and the dynamic economy we discussed today. But don't forget to let me know what you are interested in. This is supposed to be a discussion, not an exhaustive end-all, be-all type piece. This patch, in my opinion, will start to lay the foundation for how we interact with the game later. It's a big deal, and I can't help but to think about an auction house in the future or a trade market in the future to expand sellable items. I also can't help but to consider what methods will be developed that we will try to beat the quantum or dynamic economy algorithm. I'd love to get into more detail on this, but I have made a commitment to limit as much fluff as possible in these videos. The community often tells me how much they appreciate it. If you would like me to expand more in these now and later segments, specifically expand more on future speculation portions of them, let me know in the comments down low. I'm very active there, so let's chat. And speaking of comments and fluff, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge a suggestion from a commenter. Oh no, he's about to get risky. Stop him now, stop him. Before I potentially turn you away, I'd really appreciate it if you would boop that like button. They are free, and I've covered a lot up to this point, and I'd like to take a moment to thank you all for your incredible support in the comments. Your engagement in these videos really does so much more than just letting me know that the content is resonating with you. This video did take a long time to research and put together, so I'd appreciate it very much. Alright, in order to address this commenter, we're going to experiment with a little story time. This next part will be a little more off the cuff for those who are interested. If not, here's the timestamp you should click on to skip this portion. See you in a sec for your regular experience. For those of you still here, I decided to not record the rest of this script on this or what I had on this. What I did instead was post it to the r/the Fried Industries Reddit page and make a much shorter version. I am of the mind, or have been told repeatedly by successful creators, that the audience has no reason to really care about your reasonings behind things, or why exactly you do what you do, until you grow and they have a reason to care, regardless of whether or not this is true. A commenter, who knows who they are, suggested recently that I should consider showing more emotion. I don't want to ignore this, and I've tried to do that this entire video, and I hope that it is shining through. If you want the full explanation, I left a horrifying suggestion for me to sing in the original script, so be sure to check out that Reddit post for my full thought process, if that is what you were here for in the earlier days in the channel, and you want to connect with me more. It will be linked in the description below and be easy to find. I'd like to try to stick to the big picture here, because that's what I want to share is the big picture, and I didn't want want to bend rules or commitments to the core audience. The early fans, the first viewers of the channel, they appreciate no fluff, and my hope is to have struck the right balance today. Now, back to the regular show. Part of how I approach Star Citizen and keeping my own hype in check is really simple and basic. I remind myself, or try to remember this question to myself: in a perfect world, what is it that CIG, or the Star Citizen project, needs from me? How are they designing the game currently, and what do they want tested currently? Then I consider, how do I combine my interests with what the project currently needs to get the most fun during this journey? For me, the time for submitting the same bug reports are over. I'd rather share tips with you, perspectives and experiences that we all have, so that there is something for you and something for me. Something for you includes a community of like-minded folks who are the silent majority, the same individuals who likely want to keep the noise from jacking their thoughts or impacting their overall view of this fried industry we're supposedly all a part of. Something for me is really simple. I want to share and journal my experiences, so I suppose you can consider my videos, to me anyway, as sort of a interactive journal. With all of that said, there is a giveaway going on right now in case you weren't aware. All you have to do is comment on any video before the giveaway closes. If you are interested in learning more about the giveaway, where you can win an Aurora IAE 2950 starter game package with 10 years insurance and a complete armor and gear collection, I'll post the card on the screen now so you can find out more. Or check out the official rules in the giveaway description or on Reddit. I foresee a couple of days left before the Community Appreciation giveaway closes. So, go check that out. Remember the tips shared earlier today. Stay fresh, play how you want, how you can, and stay you. 3.17, here we go. It may even drop while I'm still working on this video. Share this video with friends, and see you in the verse.